Hello everyone, this is John Frausto with TopSpinTennis.com. Today I'm going to do a video analysis on Dominic Thiem's forehand. He's done a great job moving up in the rankings, and one reason for that is his big forehand. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you some of my thoughts on this. I'd be interested in some of yours as well. I mean, do you hit a forehand similar to Dominic's? And I'll show you what makes his somewhat unique. And like I said, yeah, I'd be interested in your thoughts if you could put them in the comments section below. All right, currently he's in the ready position. Let's go ahead and just look at the, he's going to take a split step and then work on his unit turn where he preps that racket. He is in a semi-western grip. He is able to flatten the ball out pretty well with that and generate some substantial topspin. All right, here's the unit turn. So he preps. And notice when he preps, this is one thing that a lot of the pros do, and I would say some of the beginner to intermediate players, keep this in mind. When you prep and turn those shoulders, notice how both hands are still on the racket. Do you see that? So currently he's at like 3 o'clock if he were a clock, and 3 o'clock. And notice how both hands are still on the racket. And the reason why you want to do that is when you keep both hands on that racket and you're turning, you get a full unit turn. So keep that in mind. You want to at least hold both hands on that racket until 3 o'clock. Now let's show you, this is probably one of the most unique forehands on the tour. And the reason being is notice the hand to racket head correlation here. Notice how he's almost horizontal here in this position. If you look like at Federer or Zverev, that racket head's more vertical in relation to the hand. And by doing this, what he does is he just increases the swing path of the racket head, and he's able to generate more power. My concern is by taking this big swing, the timing can be off, and he's going to have to rush things. But for him, you're going to just have to prep a little sooner to get that racket head around and to the ball. So this is probably the biggest one of the biggest differences. The other one, and if you've seen my Federer video that I did, notice his hand position, the hitting hand, in relation to the shoulders. So there's shoulder level, and notice how his hand is substantially above his shoulders. Once again, he's just creating a huge swing, able to generate tons of RPMs and MPH on the ball. It works for him. Would I teach this? It's different strokes for different folks. I mean, the guy's, top 10 in the world, and it's working for him. Time will tell to see if this will work. I believe the game's getting faster, and I'm not a fan of being rushed on a shot, but it works for him. All right, so there's the side view. Here's where he releases the racket. Now notice here in this position how his strings are actually facing the back fence. A huge swing, like I've said. One thing that I really like here, and we've talked about this, is notice the arm position, the non-hitting arm, and how it's off to the side. That's going to help with his spacing and his balance. And like I've said in a previous video, that you almost want to imagine you're hanging a towel over that arm to dry, and that's what he's doing. So he's in a really, really good position here. The other thing that he does well is just look at the loading in the legs. He's going to generate power from the ground up here. So he does a nice job. And the other thing that I like is just notice the balance. We talked about balancing that book on the head, and his head is over his feet and well balanced, and he's ready for the incoming ball. Let's look at the racket drop. Here it is here. Now interesting in the drop, go one more frame. This position here, now if you look like at Federer, notice his racket angle. See how it's, this is a perfect one. See how it's not completely closed, it's slightly closed? Federer would be completely closed in this position. So there is a difference there with that. I mean, he's still able to generate tremendous topspin on the ball, even though his face is not completely closed, but there is a difference there. The other thing that he does well, he's in a double bent position here when as he goes to the ball. Remember, Federer would be in a straight arm position. Let's look at the contact point. All right, so he does a nice job. He is in a double bent position with that arm. Different than Federer's, but this works. I mean, there's a lot of pros that use the double bent, and there's a lot that go with the straight. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but some are using that straight arm position. But he does do a nice job of finding the ball out in front. Notice how he's already starting to lift his head in this video here, how he's lifting his head. He doesn't keep his chin down, unlike Federer. But does a nice job. He's finding the ball in front. Notice the racket angle is slightly closed, so that should keep the ball in the court. He's pointing his hips and shoulders to his target, which is great. So it tells you he's generating power from the ground up and using his hips and shoulders, the rotation for power. Let's look at the extension. So notice how he doesn't extend out to the target very much. I mean, he really does go from the ball, and then he pulls up and across his body, which I'm a big fan of. I mean, he goes to the ball, and from the ball, he pulls up and across. And that motion and that speed is what generates spin and top spin and pace as well. And one thing I noticed with Dominic, unlike Federer doesn't really catch the racket, but Dominic does. If you watch him, he catches that racket above his shoulder on most forehands. Nice job here. He does a great job of his transfer of the weight. Notice how that back foot is up off the ground. So all in all, it's a great stroke, but please share your thoughts below in the comments section. I'd be interested to see what you thought of this video, whether or not it helped you. Are you hitting a forehand similar to Dominic's? Would you be interested in hitting something like Dominic does? If you like the video, please hit the like button below. If you really like the video, please share it with your friends, parents, coaches. Thanks again.